Fabulous. So good evening, everyone. I'm Candace Blair from Soulfire Social.
And I'm Laura Peterson from the Venus Way.
Yeah, exactly. There we go. That's us. We are just thrilled to be sharing information about this amazing book. I know that many of you have heard us speak about the alchemy of becoming. You have heard us speak about Karen and Diane, in particular, the authors and friends of ours. And we just wanted to talk quickly about how that came to be, and then go into some details about our experience with the book and really kind of the fundamental methodology. And just for those who don't know, I mean, I met Karen and Diane. They came to one of my Kundalini classes about 3 years ago. And I just remember loving them, and that somebody actually knew about Kundalini because Diane is a Kundalini teacher. So I was very excited to have her. And the next year they came back, they snowbird, and they came back and they said, Candace, we'd like to talk to you about something and share something that we're working on. And they started telling me, they kind of sat me down in the living room and started telling me about the amazing experience that Diane had been having for the past 10 years channeling this book. How Karen was involved as well, not only as her sister-in-law, but also getting involved in actually channeling information and working with her to create this methodology. Their experiences doing the methodology as it was coming through process. And I found it absolutely fascinating. And they said, well, would you be willing to, we'd like you to try this methodology. And I was like, okay, now I didn't, you all remember that 10 years ago, I didn't know what a chakra was. So my growth has been good, but we're talking about a lot of bigger things that Laura knew a whole lot about when she started. But I was kind of like, oh my gosh, this is a lot of, I didn't necessarily fully understand the greater picture behind a lot of the concepts. And that was a little intimidating. So I just want to throw that out there. Don't be intimidated. And so I just asked, well, can I do it with a friend? Which is, and I picked the perfect friend because she can tell you she's done so much work for so many longer years than I have, with a breadth of experience with a lot of these, with a lot of the authors, a lot of the keynote speakers. So I got to ask a lot of great questions and have a friend along for the ride. I would say that my experience was absolutely transformational. I think those of you who know me watched me go through a process, a real evolution, and kind of saw the changes in me as a result of doing this. I have to say that when I completed it, it took me a little over a year. It was, I felt literally like I had let go of everything. Any baggage that I'd picked up or had inherited, I'd let it go. And I felt like this shiny new penny who was just ready for the world, who was like back to my truest nature. And that was like, it's how I still feel. I feel like it helped me shed layers and layers easily, and like without pain and trauma. A lot of naps, I will say, but we can talk about that later. I learned how to nap during Alchemy of Becoming, but I found the process so phenomenal. And working with Laura and going through the process together, we were honored when Karen and Diane asked us to become guides and introduce this to people. So I'm going to leave my part at that until we talk a bit more and introduce, so Laura can talk to you a little bit about her experience and also go into a little more depth about the book.
Yeah. So what I loved about the book when I was introduced to it, I was very familiar with the luminaries that are in the back of the book. I had spent 25 plus years studying metaphysics, and actually had probably done something with each of these authors over the course of the years. Now, one of the things that I know Karen and Diane have talked about, and I have been witness to, is a lot of books will give you information, but there's not a lot of how to. And what I love about this book is it actually uses a particular, it uses science, it uses alchemy to release stuff like trapped emotions. All of us have them. We all have trapped emotions. We all have imprinting, whether it's this lifetime or like our past lives, whether you believe in that or not, totally irrelevant. And this book does it in I'm going to use the word simple. I'm not saying that the process in and of itself is easy, although it can be. This process is, you don't have to go through the dark night of the soul in order to receive the benefits of this work. Your body might require sleep, like Candace had mentioned, but you don't have to go deep into this whole like angst when you're releasing stuff.
Yeah.
And the concept, like why do we want to release? Why do we want to release imprinting? Why does it even matter? Right? And I think this is the biggest question of all. It's because we're at a turning point in our evolution. And it's really important at this stage of the game to choose a higher level of consciousness. In order to be able to choose a higher level of consciousness, we have to release old stuff, known and unknown. When we up level and raise our level of consciousness, we actually live life differently. And we're at a point, we can see it happening. These past 2 years have been a blur. And we're at a huge polarity point in our evolution. And when we release the trapped emotions, when we released stuff that no longer serves us, we come from a space of love versus fear. And I'm going to give it back to you.
And I think, so she touched on the key elements, when Karen and Diane were channeling this, it's listen, we're at this inflection point of either evolution or devolution. And that's why when you read all these books that Laura read, and like I'm sure many of you have read, metaphysics, quantum physics, all of these, Wayne Dyer, Donna Eden, you read them, but there's not a process to shift forward. And so the call here is, if we can't solve the problems currently at the same level of consciousness they were created, we have got to up level. We've got to up level ourselves. Now, previously, our options were maybe we found something like a Kundalini or energy medicine, but we didn't necessarily have really clear tools. And people have spent years and years in therapy. Not that there's anything wrong with therapy, but I think the key here is, in this book, trapped emotions that you have trapped in this lifetime, the things that make us sick, that go into our physical body, the things that go into our energy system, the things that get stuck in our auric field. It could take us light years to get them all out in therapy. This is quite, as Laura said, a pretty pain-free way of addressing, of tapping into our higher consciousness to find what's stuck in there, what we've inherited in this lifetime by our parents or grandparents, with a very clear methodology to let it go, to literally get it out once and for all. And I think that's the most appealing thing. It's, we don't want to call it simple, but it is pretty fast and furious. And they're like, let's get rid of this so that you can raise your level of consciousness and start living more from the heart space. We're able to gauge the level of consciousness of the planet. And if you look at kind of what happened, we discussed this yesterday, shame, guilt, fear, all low levels, they get stuck down in your lower triangle and they keep you from elevating, they keep you from joy. And, COVID was a spectacular negative effect on the overall consciousness of the world, fear condensing down. we've got to find a way and tune into ways to raise our vibration for the good of not just ourselves, but for humanity. So it's like, it's this wonderful call to, they've gifted us with a methodology with which we can address our personal issues in a way that is, I know, I like the fact that it's independent too, right? Like it's, you get to do it. It's created to be done on your own. We actually do act as guides because sometimes it's a little challenging at first tapping into your higher consciousness, but she and I don't do much without swaying to our higher consciousness. I mean, I don't think we make any major decisions on collaborations, on jobs. You know, if I know that my heart's a little too much in it, I'll be like, Laura, can you sway for me? You know?
Yeah. It definitely elevates your own personal intuitiveness. I firmly believe that each and every one of us on this planet is intuitive. Each and every one of us on this planet is empathic. There are just levels, or if we're going to use a spectrum, there's just different ends of the spectrum, right? And the more you tune in, tap in, turn on your level of consciousness, the greater your intuitive skills become, and the less you're seeking outside of yourself answers. Because now you're trusting, you're clearing away, in a nutshell, you're clearing away the gunk. Like you said, you feel like a shiny penny. You're literally polishing the penny so that you can show up and be your authentic sovereign self and go, oh, this is who I am. Exactly. You know, not this is what I was told I should be, which as women, a lot of us have had that, regardless of our age. You know, it's a centuries old thing. And this is one of my personal things that I love about this, is clearing away the muck so that we can show up authentically from a sovereign space, and we can connect deeper into our own intuitive abilities and have this ability to call bullshit on some stuff, or go, no, that doesn't resonate for me. Or instead of, I'm going to call my psychic, you know, and see what she has to say.
You're connected.
Right.
You are already connected.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that, so just in terms of a quick, if I was giving you a Cliff Notes version, so what happens? The methodology involves you connecting to your higher consciousness, to your guides, which we all have access to. That's kind of, you know, in the book, we can help you show how to do that. As said, the sway, that's connecting to your higher consciousness, your guides, so that you are getting the truth for you without anything else based on your blueprint and your highest self. You use that methodology to go through this book to help you to connect with the emotions that you need to release in the organs, in the energetic center, in the auric field. This has the ability to have a significant impact on your overall health. At the beginning, we do a test where we test your mental health, your overall health. We test your level of consciousness. We test your auric field strength, and all of your major organs. I cannot tell you the difference. I mean, I personally think I look younger since I did it. I think we both do. You know, I'm like, you know, this is 49 almost, you know, you're like, yeah, right on. I'm like vibrating. But it's like, it's amazing what happens, because what does everyone tell you? I mean, those of you who do Kundalini with me, what are we doing? We've got to get back into flow, because you stuff enough stuff down. Sickness, illness, mental illness, all of these things. This process helps you release that so you can get back into good health. So it's not just my level of consciousness, which you might seem like, okay, that's like, you know, I don't know, a little woo-woo concept. We're talking about actual reducing your what do we call it? We check everyone's reducing your biologic age and improving your overall mental and physical health by this process.
And the reason for that is because we're electromagnetic beings, and science has proven this. We're electromagnetic beings, and we are frequency. And we have the ability, we're like little, we have spidey antennas where we can pick up on the frequency of everybody around us. And our bodies have this amazing capacity to pick up on the energy field of everybody around us. And our bodies take it in and hold it. And the reason why this helps with our biological age and help release stuff from our thing is that our bodies is because it's giving our bodies the ability to release everything that it's taken in from everybody or everything around us. So,
yeah, and to really get back into a state of flow. And as you let go of negative trapped emotions, your vibration rises. As you tune into more joy and peace and love, we raise that vibration. Now, if we can't, can say it's an incredibly wonderful experience as you're raising your consciousness. Sometimes it's a little unsettling for those around you because, and we can talk about that if you have questions, because it does, like, you start to vibrate at a higher frequency. But what you're doing also is you're raising the vibration of people around you. Whether they want to be raised or not is the question. Sometimes it's challenging, but I would say that's like a pretty good summary, right? Like, is there anything we missed that we should just
I'm sure there is, but I know.
Oh, yeah, I mean, and looking at the book, like, obviously it follows an alchemical process. Once you go through the release, I will just say that's not all it is in the first book. There's an entire program of forgiving yourself, of forgiveness. There's an entire program of using the sway and the connectivity to rebalance your focus in your life, business, like how you do things. So there's this beautiful process. The level 1, there are going to be 4 books. This is the journey of your inner awakening. So it's letting go, getting back to your blueprint, and then fine tuning so you can be kind of the best that you can be as you then take the next steps forward. All right. So should we stop the recording there? I think we'll stop the recording there. All right. And we'll let everyone ask questions.